Hello, YouTube. I've been experimenting with that new used camera that I have, which takes amazing digital photographs. But the video has just been a disappointment. So there's a couple of videos that I think you're not going to like in terms of that quality. But, you know, it is what it is. Let me adjust something a little bit here so we have a little bit more balance. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about a book series here that I really had a huge influence on me. So I'm gonna introduce this author, Chong Li, Chong M. Li. First book in the series was Dynamic Kicks, published 1975. Second book in the series was Explosive Kicks, published 1978. Then you had Super Dynamic Kicks, okay, which I'm going to check the published date on that. I think it's 1980, and it is. And then finally, the Kicks for Competition. And I think that was published 1982, correct? All right. So these were an incredible book series. My brothers got them because they got into martial arts first, and so the first two books were in the house. And what happened was there was my two older brothers moved out at the same time before they even completed high school because there was a family disagreement. And they struck out on their own and they completed high school without parental support. But later there was a type of reconciliation. So, but you know, they left behind all this martial arts equipment. And I started martial arts, it was, 79 through 1980. I don't know if I started late 1979 and then through 1980 or if I started in 1980, but I think I remember 79, right? So literally 40 years ago, really, literally about 40 years ago or 39 years ago. That's how long I've been a martial artist. And these books were just incredible. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a sample. Well, if you look at the cover, you see that Master Chong Li, he was 1975 Long Beach, California forms champion. All right, but according to his biography, which I believe he got into martial arts very young, probably 5 years old, maybe 4, right? Got his first down when he was 7 years old, which that is what it is. And then at 11 he started Muay Thai, and he persisted for a couple years, broke his jaw at least once, it says, and learned about that sport, and then specialized in Taekwondo, came to America, said he was constantly getting disqualified in American style point karate, and so he got into full contact, ran a successful martial arts school. And in the later book, it says that at some point he opened a real estate office as well as that successful martial arts school, and he was getting a pilot's license, and he was doing a lot of forms and full contact in 1975 when the first book was written. But you're talking about 7 years of a martial arts master's work, probably at his peak. And to this day, I'm going to say that one reason why that I can kick head high at age 50. One motivation were these books. And yes, you could say Bill Wallace, but I was into this long before I knew who Bill Wallace was or I'd seen him. These books were just incredible. There's a video that I recently made that I'm going to post, and yes, I know, I'm sorry about the quality, I'm sorry about the angle of the camera. New apartment, new camera didn't work out for video, back to the old camera. But it inspired me to take a look at the front kick and the spinning hook kick, and how some of the principles of good kicking in Taekwondo, Tang Sudo, Hapkido, Hwarangdo, with these very high and very powerful kicks, are actually related to principles of the internal martial arts. And this is something that over time that I've had to I've needed to understand to be able to keep kicking, right? So what I'm going to start doing, I think, is as I'm actually doing an old workout that I did as a kid, where I would go through the book, and I would watch the step-by-step instructions. For example, here's one on the basic front kick, right? And I would look at it, and I would get up, and I would try to replicate what I see. I'd do a couple reps on the left, couple on the right, not a lot of reps. I'd alternate back and forth until I felt I understood something about it, or I was replicating it as best I could. Then I would move on to the next and the next. And sometimes if it was a particularly odd kick, like at the time I was trying to learn, I couldn't do a jumping front kick, I would spend 5-10 minutes just looking at it, trying to understand it. Then I would try to do it, come back, sit down, look at it again, and maybe not even accomplish anything for that day. But it was an interesting exercise, and it kept me in the game. And it's kind of funny because at the time I was doing Shotokan, and they did not encourage, we're talking the very early 80s, they did not encourage importing any techniques. They did not encourage, they did high kicks, high roundhouse kicks, front kicks, even high side kicks, crescent and inward crescent kick, not so much an outward crescent kick. They did do a back kick, literally to someone standing behind you, and some of the black belts I even saw them do a spinning back kick, but not the way it was done in Chong Li's books. But I was inspired by these, and I'll tell you, Chong Li's books and importing Taekwondo kicks was one of the dirty little secrets of my martial arts childhood. They didn't want to see a hook kick or a spinning hook kick. They felt like you were polluting the style and ruining it by importing these things. It's not the modern area with mixed martial arts and cross training and everything. So, what I would do is practice these kicks on my own in my bedroom, in the basement, and then when I was in class, for the brief time that I was in class, I would wait during sparring for the teacher to look away, and I would do like a hook kick or a axe kick at the other kid, and then quickly retreat back to my Shotokan, and hoping I wouldn't get caught. Can you imagine? Right? And sometimes I would score with these kicks. And then later, when my parents took me out of karate, and there's a multitude of reasons for that. My brothers quit, and I didn't want to do it. They were kind of getting like you have 2 sons in the program, we'll give you the third for a discount or free or something. And when they stepped out of it, I was no longer part of the deal. But I wanted to keep training, mostly because as time went by, I didn't get any faster at running, but the bullies got bigger and stronger and faster. So I couldn't outrun them in the neighborhood. I had to do something. I had to try to fight. And, eventually my parents pulled me out of public school, along with my little brother, put us in Catholic school, because they felt like one reason why the 2 oldest sons rebelled was that, they didn't learn any values. So they put us in Catholic school, right? Which was cool because I got to hang out with a ton of Italian kids, and that was fun. And they had other kids there too, and a couple kids that were from hyper-conservative, kind of neo-Nazi families. Hey, what are you gonna do? But one way that I made progress was I would teach the kids in the playground some of this stuff, and teach them enough stuff so that we could spar. And I remember, practice the jump front kick, the double jump front kick, and I could never quite do the spin back kick. I think I got it once or twice. Spin hook kicks I got. And I remember there was this fun period where we were on the steps of St. Paul's Catholic School in Princeton, New Jersey. And it was like a little stage. And we were pretending we were Van Halen because that Jump video came out, and my friends were all air guitaring, and I was like, well, someone's got to be David Lee Roth, right? So I jumped up and did the front kick, and started kicking and punching, and they thought that was cool. Like that was part of the air guitar routine where we pretended to be Van Halen, right? So these books are out of print, but you can get them on eBay, I think, and Amazon, and I highly recommend them. And to this day, I never had the second 2 books. So now I have them, and now I'm practicing the combinations in them. And they're old hat, most of these combinations. But some of the jumping, the the combination jump kicks, I mean, at this age, they're not going to happen. I'm not going to jump in the air and do a jump front kick and then pivot and kick to the side before I land and all that. And the sideways split kick with a punch down the middle, that's probably not something I'm going to practice. But some of the basic combinations of the high and middle kicks and the upset punch and everything, yeah, it's fun going through the books. It's fun going through it, reliving these memories. But I will say this, if I don't, after this, there's no record of Chong Li in the martial arts, in the magazines or anywhere else. And I've scoured YouTube and I can't find any references to him. If you're out there, I mean, the only thing that comes up in that region, in California, Chong Li, is that someone who would be about the right age is a professor at a university, and I think a book he wrote on political situation in 1940s Manchuria. So I think maybe it's either Asian studies or political science or history. And if that's him, he's moved on to teach other things. But if you're out there, sir, if you are out there and you have old footage, please post it, because you were an incredible influence in my martial arts life. There was a time period when half of the instruction that I had was just taking out these two books right here on my own as a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old, and just going over the material, and then blending it with the Shotokan I knew. And I had Buck Sam Kong's Book of Tiger Crane Kung Fu, but I could never figure out how to do the sequences, and Black Belt and Inside Kung Fu magazine. But your books were the reference that I had on hand all the time. Okay? So if you can post it, just so I can see what you look like, in movement, please do so. I'm sure there are other fans out there, and if you were a student of Chong Li, Master Chong Li, then, and you have that footage, post it, or make a video or a response or something, because you can tell by the photos. One of the photography was just incredible. Like, let's take a look at this jumping front leg lead hook kick sequence, right? I mean, you can see by the extension, the torque, the height that he had, that he was a dynamic, athletic individual, that he put a lot of work into it and obviously started young, and trained. He appears to be in his 20s, late 20s, early 30s in these books, and this represents 7 years of his life. And it would just be really, really interesting and really awesome to see who produced. The photos were so dynamic. The photos showed so much power. I'm just wondering what they look like in real life. But anyway, if you have a chance to get a hold of those books, I recommend them. And I'm just having a ball going through the books and pretending I'm a kid again. And just like a kid, I'm in my new apartment. I got carpet down, and I'm just practicing some of these techniques, having a ball, learning some of what are new combinations to me, and some of which is just old stuff that I'm just having fun reliving. Okay? And I think I may post a couple of videos on some of the combinations and some of the concepts mentioned in this book. And they were just incredible. They were highly influential, not only throughout my martial art lifetime, but they've been influential in the martial art careers of different students I've had, watching them apply it in sparring, in forms, and just doing a basic, how it's helped them. All right? So thank you very much. You all have a good night.